Hello, and welcome to episode 67 of Flix and a Six. I'm one of your hosts, Anthony Costanzo. With me, forever and always, the man, the myth, the mask, Alessandro Belsi. Say hello, Al.
At one point, one of the men admitted to owning 98% of the onions in the United States.
If that's not a teaser, I don't know what is. On this week's episode, we're going to discuss our sad feelings. We miss Stan Lee. We're going to discuss Star Wars movies that we'll never get to see, peruse the Guardians' top 20 Marvel films, and ponder the Apple and A24 partnership. Assorted news and nuggets, all before diving into our flick of the week, Batman, Mask of the Phantasm. But first, Al, what are we drinking?
I didn't hear about that Apple A24.
I had a feeling because it showed up moments before the episode in my feed.
That's I'd like to hear more about it, but I feel like that's going to irritate me.
Probably.
Okay, we are drinking one of the many pumpkin beers that will have to come in the coming episodes because we had quite a few left over from. I mean, we got to sample them all from the pumpkin beer outing, but we have quite a few left over, so we figured why not use them for the show. So this is Shipyard Brewing Company's Smashed Pumpkin. It's ale with natural flavors. It's got a fun little jack-o'-lantern face on the front. And on the back it says, Smashed Pumpkin Season with Shipyard Smashed Pumpkin. This big-bodied beer pours a light copper orange with pleasing aromas of pumpkin, cinnamon, and burnt sugar, balanced by a mild, lingering sweetness and a slightly warm, bitter finish. Smashed Pumpkin is the perfect beer for when the temperature starts to drop. To fully enjoy all the flavors, this ale is best drunk at 55 degrees Fahrenheit.
I gotta say, after pouring it, that scent immediately hitting me in the face, I am upset that I did not think to rim the glass with cinnamon and sugar, because I feel
that would have been a good fit for this for sure.
It would have been very tasty.
A
little treat.
I have some other information at the bottom here. It's 20 IBUs, 9.0% alcohol by volume. It's made with pale, whole wheat, and Munich malts. It's got Willamette and Sapphire hops, and then I have a series of pictograms at the bottom. It pairs perfectly with leaves, so I guess autumn.
Falling leaves.
A glass. Football and candy.
The glass is my favorite one, I think. The falling leaf is great. That's probably my new favorite icon. But the glass is brilliant.
Yes.
Pour me in a glass.
This was brewed by Shipyard Brewing Company in Rochester, New York. Pretty straightforward, a little understated can art. Pure orange, one black pane with orange and white lettering.
Goofy little pumpkin guy on there. I like that.
And a goofy little pumpkin, a classic-looking pumpkin jack-o'-lantern face.
A very happy one.
Yeah. One with a little bit of mischief in his eye.
Which one? The left.
Yes.
All right, shall we give this sucker another taste?
Yes, please.
Cheers.
Yeah. That's good stuff.
That is good. Hang on. A little something there.
This trends a little towards more of the pumpkin pie type of beer, where it definitely has actual pumpkin in it, but it's spiced like pumpkin pie.
Yeah, there's a little bit of an earthiness there that I'm not loving.
There is, but that's what actual pumpkin tastes like. That's what squash tastes like.
No, I disagree. I cook a lot of squash. It doesn't taste like dirt.
Well, not every squash is the same, obviously.
Sure. I've also made a lot of pumpkin.
Well, I don't know how much pumpkin stuff you made. But that could also be from the hops too, though.
Yeah. There was one other. I think there was another beer that we had on the night of the pumpkin tasting that was like super earthy, and I don't think it was this one.
I don't remember, and I couldn't smell those.
That's true. You're having some technical difficulties during the tasting.
Yes, my nose was not ideal. So I'm looking, maybe it could be hop aroma that you're getting. I'm not familiar with Sapphire hops. I know the name, but I've never used them, and I don't know of anything specific that I've drank that has it. So I'm more familiar with Willamette hops, though again I've never used them. Neither of them has anything about earthiness to it.
It does seem like it is from the aroma, though. I held my nose on that one, and as soon as I released it, I tasted that earthy flavor.
It could be for it, but those aren't any of the leading notes for those.
Could also just be they didn't wash them pumpkins. That's what I think happened.
You know, the funny thing is,
right out of the dirt into the pot.
I smell the yeast at the top of the nose of the beer.
There's something uncomfortable about that statement, but go on.
I smell the yeast in this beer, right on the nose of it, but it is filtered and quite clear. It's not hazy like most unfiltered beers would be like that.
Yeah, you can see right through this sucker. Yeah.
Perfect, pretty health for a pumpkin beer.
It's decent. It's not my favorite. I don't think I'm a fan of the Shipyard pumpkin beers as much as I am some of the other pumpkin beers that we had. This is not the first one that I've had from them.
Okay.
There's a other standard one that they have that was in the glass bottle that I spent way too much time looking for, which is the one that I thought we were doing. It's absolutely not the one we're drinking. And that one is okay. I think I actually might like that one a little bit better than this one, but Shipyard is not my favorite.
I know I've had other of their stuff, but I honestly can't recall any of them specifically or what my impressions of them would be.
Yeah, I mean, that's not to say this is bad. I will drink this entire thing, and I will enjoy 90% of it.
When you say that, do you mean 100% of the experience will be enjoyed 90%, or you won't drink all 100% of the beer, you'll drink 90% of it?
The former.
Okay.
The former. Every sip that I take will have 90% enjoyment factor.
Okay, good. That's good, because I didn't want to think that you were wasting the end of the beer.
Oh, no. Not a monster. Shall we dive in?
Sure.
So our first topic here, it's a no-brainer. Stan Lee passed this week. We're all upset. And here's the thing. I generally, when an actor or a director or someone in Hollywood that I admire passes away, I think like I get you're sad for a minute reading the story, and it's like, oh, that's a real bummer. Like, and that sucks. But for whatever reason, this one, I don't know Stan Lee. I don't even know much about him. I just know that the impact that he's had on the movies and the pop culture that I love so much, and throughout the day, after hearing that and the days that followed, I was just like, every once in a while, I would just get a little sad. I would just be like, what am I down about? Oh, that's weird. Like I said, I don't know this guy, but still had that much of an effect, and I'm sure it's that way for many people. And it's just I was really enjoying all the wonderful things that people were saying about him. Yeah. Sometimes social media can be nice, but it's a bummer, man. But great, what a legacy is really what I texted you after. I was very upset. I was like, oh man, this really sucks. But like that's the immediate thought that followed was, could you imagine leaving that body behind? Like everything that this man has created?
No, I cannot.
It's absolutely insane.
We're talking about like a 60-year career.
It's unreal. And just I'm just blown away. 95? Yeah. Good for you.
Yeah, well, that's the thing that I found was like, yeah, it's sad because we're gonna miss him, and we don't get to see many more of his cameos, and he's just a guy who's made so many of us happy. But on the other hand, it's like you're gonna be so sad. Like he lived a much fuller life than many people ever could or would. He got to experience everything, and he lived to a ripe old age. I surely wish I make it to 95.
Right, exactly. But then you were like, well, we all like, not you weren't being a dick. You were just like, well, we all knew this was going to happen, and
this wasn't one of those ones like an Alan Rickman who we didn't know he was ill,
like taken too soon. Yeah,
in his early 60s, and it was very sudden. We knew about his failing health for a while. When you're 95 years old, even if you're in great health, anything can happen at any time, and I guess that could happen to anyone. But the odds go up as you reach there. So this. You kind of knew it was coming one of these days, unfortunately, and unfortunately it finally came.
And the child in me was just like, no, this man is going to live forever.
Sometimes it can feel like that.
It's crazy, but
I had seen a video. Someone mashed up all of his cameos and everything as all the Stan Lee cameos and all the Marvel things, which was fun. What I found myself seeking out was his, because he got a pretty extended sequence in Mallrats.
Yeah. Oh,
so I watched.
Love be a vulture tonight.
Yeah.
That's a great one. Yeah, but it's just congrats on a incredible legacy. That's just to Stan. Cheers. With that, I came obviously reading a lot of posts, a lot of articles, different things like that, just kind of enjoying all of his works and things that were left behind. But I came across numerous Marvel film rankings again, which we get these almost weekly, but it felt relevant to look into.
Well, they certainly update every time there's a new one that comes out.
Yeah, and I decided this one was the impetus for this was obviously his passing, and I was like, I went through a few of them, and this particular one stood out to me, and I'd like to run through this list of the top 20, the 20 best Marvel films ranked. And this is from The Guardian.
Okay.
And the reason I chose this list to go over is because right out of the gate, we're picking 20 movies. Right out of the gate, I go, how's this list going to be? So the first, well, I guess number 20 on the list, Ghost Rider. Thoughts?
I think my laughter says it all.
So it's a no list of Marvel film or any films can be without Nicolas Cage. I was like, that's silly.
If that's your rationale,
right,
I'll allow it. But then it should have really been an honorable mention.
I'll agree with that. But let's keep going down the list and pause me anytime that you are concerned. And
if that's making it on the list, there's going to be other stuff that shouldn't be on this list.
You know what? I think in a lot of cases, what you're going to be annoyed about is the order at which certain things are on the list. But let's just start moving.
Number probably 20, too.
Ghost Rider. Number 19, Ant-Man.
Okay, I mean, it's certainly not the most essential of them.
Sure. Number 18, Spider-Man: Homecoming. Glad to see that on the top 20. I appreciate that. I don't really care so much where in the list it is.
I'd have to spend time to come up with what the top 20, but that should be on it somewhere. And I'm not surprised it's on the lower end of it.
Yeah. Number 17, X-Men: Days of Future Past.
No.
I'm not 100% sure how I feel about that one. I enjoy it.
If we had to compare that and Ghost Rider, I'm okay with that making it on the list.
It is better than Ghost Rider.
Yes, from that standpoint, I agree.
Oh, maybe that's what this writing genius was doing. Maybe he was setting it up so that you would have to rationalize it, and that would always win.
The thing is, as you're saying Ghost Rider, I'm so there's going to be a lot of things that aren't part of the MCU on this, which, okay.
Marvel properties.
Yeah, so the first two X-Men should probably make it on a list, whether they be 20 or 30, whatever. They should be on a list. And First Class and Logan, I'm fine with both of those making a list.
Sure.
Whether or not it be this list. But those are things I consider for a list of the top movies.
All right, well let's keep cruising then. So X-Men: Days of Future Past coming in at 17. Number 16, Spider-Man 2002.
Sure.
Fair enough. We already talked about Willem Dafoe being incredible. Hang
on a second. Are you going to clean that up? Sorry, the peanut gallery is making a lot of mess over here.
Are you going to take care of that?
Well, because I just heard the sound of plastic hitting the ground, and I'm sure you did too, and I just thought it was an empty cup, and it wasn't.
That's unfortunate. Number 16 was Spider-Man. Number 15, Iron Man.
Okay.
Number 14, this is what I thought was interesting, Thor.
The first half of Thor?
Rated higher than the original Iron Man.
Yeah, that's not right.
Seems incorrect to me. Number 13, yes. Doctor Strange.
Also odd. Less odd than Thor, but okay. Odd than Thor.
Number 12, and an absolute, more likely, this. I think what bothers me about this one is the 12, definitely a top 10, Logan.
Yes.
Number 11, Avengers: Infinity War.
Okay.
Fair. Number 10, Deadpool.
Okay.
Number 9, and here's where Ant-Man and the Wasp. I don't think that we need two Ant-Man movies
that
on
one I
this
need
list.
to see again before I can really try and get it as, like a ranking amongst them.
I was thinking about it earlier, and I don't remember if I like this one more or less than the first one.
Yeah.
I know I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think I may like it more. I'm not certain. I would have to rewatch both of them.
Yes.
But either way,
I've seen the first one plenty enough times. I need to see the second one a second time.
and this might just be how I would do a list, but I wouldn't personally put two of the same property that are that close together on the same top list. Unless they both really deserve to be there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily have an issue with that because some people's list. There's going to be two Avengers on this.
So let's keep moving.
Are you telling me that the first one didn't make it?
It's on there.
Okay.
So number 9 is Ant-Man and the Wasp. Number 8 is X-Men, the original.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
Number 7, Iron Man 3.
You know what? There is a pretty staunch subdivision of Marvel fans that are a big fan of that movie. I could kind of take it or leave it. I'm fine. I like it better than 2, but for some reason, it just feels a little hollow to me.
Yeah, there's something off about it. Doesn't feel quite
It's
right.
just something missing.
Yeah. Tighten it up. Number 6, and here's what interesting is how this one is listed. Marvel Avengers Assemble. The original working title of the movie.
What?
I don't know.
Now you're just being difficult.
So number 6 was the original Avengers. Number 5 is Guardians of the Galaxy. Okay. I can get behind that one. Number 4, Spider-Man 2.
Okay.
Number 3, I would like to give you 5 guesses for number 3.
For number 3 or the top 3?
For number 3. I am fairly certain I can give you 20 guesses, and you are not going to get number 3.
Okay, the only hint I'm going to ask for is it part of the MCU?
No. Are we just going to 20 questions this? Because that would actually be even more fun.
Is it one of the Blade trilogy?
Yes.
Is it Blade 2?
It is.
Blade 2
good for you.
is a pretty excellent movie.
It is. I just didn't think you were going to get there that quickly. I appreciate that. Well done. Number 2, Black Panther.
That's probably too high, but okay.
I would agree. Number 1, and here's where
definitely top 10, but not top 3.
Here's where the list pulled me back in. Is number 1.
Okay.
It may be my current number 1 as well.
Okay.
Which one is that?
I don't know. I feel like you've changed your top number.
Oh, it might as well just be a dart on a dartboard.
Because my guess would have been Guardians, and that's obviously not your number 1 because that was number 5.
It's Guardian. Yeah, I flip-flop between Guardians and this one. I think maybe 1 or 2 other ones as well, but this one's one of them.
That's my confusion.
Yeah, but I've definitely said at one point, I think this is one of the ones that I've said probably on the show. I think this is my favorite Marvel movie.
Okay. Are you gonna tell me?
I'm waiting for you to guess.
Oh, is it now The Winter Soldier?
It's not. No.
Well, it's criminal that that's not on the top 10.
I was gonna say this is where I feel like we're just gonna lose it. We're not even gonna get to the guess of what it actually is because now you're just gonna be thinking about how are none of the Captain America movies.
No, I already assumed that was gonna be the case by the fact that it didn't make the top 4. So, yeah, I'm not sure which one.
Ragnarok.
Oh yeah, okay.
I'm a huge fan of Ragnarok. This
Piss
list
off.
is all
Piss
over
off,
the place. What'd you say?
Piss off, Ghost.
I love that movie. Also, probably one of my favorite Stan Lee cameos in the Marvel movies.
Which one was that one? When he does the haircut.
He cuts his hair off. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, this list is wacky.
Yeah, we could do a lot better list than this.
I think we need to. We do need to sit down. We should do this. We should record the whole thing. The arguments, us no longer being friends, no longer being family, and then coming back together.
Speaking of which, I have a pretty good plan for that coming up eventually.
Excellent. Is it our holiday episode?
No, that's already been recorded.
All right, sweet. So that list is just It's just funny. I feel like it was some of it just seems very arbitrary, but it was interesting.
I don't have a problem with Blade 2 making it onto that list. It probably should not be top 5.
I added it to the Flipboard magazine. If you guys want to check it out, like I said, it's from The Guardian. The only thing I would say is we're not obviously diving into this article like word for word, but you can read the blurb that is posted about each one, and it is kind of cool to read that stuff. But yeah, very interesting. Not our top 20 list.
No.
Some overlap.
Definitively not. That's actually a good way for us to do an episode, like where we need to, as like a filler episode, to record it when we have a chance, and then we can release it when we need something.
I like it. Yeah, let's make that a thing.
Also, we need to get together and record an episode. The last time we did that was our annual Easter episode. It's been way too long.
We haven't done an in-person episode in a long time. We will travel back in time for an in-person holiday episode.
True.
So there's that. Maybe I'm still scarred. Moving on, would you like to... I assume you have news and nuggets.
I do.
Would you like to take the reins for one of those?
Sure. Let's do a small one. Okay. Yesterday, me and my brother Dominic, who is in the background here, the Peanut Gallery today, me and him brewed some beer yesterday.
Oh, yes.
And we decided to get a little wild, a little adventurous. And we made a holiday spiced red ale.
Okay. What are these holiday spices?
It's got cinnamon, nutmeg, ginger, and sweet orange peel.
Ooh. Okay. Yeah. I like that. That sounds real nice.
Oh yeah.
I'm excited.
Me too.
When is this one going to be available?
It'll be ready in about a month, so mid-December.
I see what you did there.
You know what day it'll be ready for precisely?
December 15th.
December 15th. You know what day? You know what day that is?
The Bielsi. I'm trying to think of some ridiculous. The Bielsi Army holiday party.
It's typically called the Bielsi Scholarship Dinner. But that being said, it is the Bielsi holiday party. It happens once a year. And
the clan comes together.
The clan and its extended hanger-ons all come together for a day of you. Among others, you're not alone in that.
I'm an extended hanger-on. I appreciate that.
Come together for.
Hey man, I made the slideshow. I'm good.
You did?
I'm sold.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because you are family, even if you're not that side of the family. Yeah, so I think I can bring a select stock of those for that day. So
good. That'll be good. I'm excited. Oh man, I really want to taste that. I'm sitting here drinking this smashed pumpkin, thinking all these holiday spices and wonderfulness that you're pitching my way.
Well, you did get to drink some spiced pumpkinish porter the other day.
I did. I drank entirely too much of it. I drank the big bottle.
Yeah.
And I filled up the big glass.
Yep.
And the glass was not full. I mean, the glass was full, but the bottle was not empty.
Well, it's like 22 ounces of beer. So.
There's a little bit more to go. And I felt that one afterwards. It's
of moderate strength.
It's good. I think my tolerance is just gone. I think that's what the problem is. But it was good. Although the other night... We did pretty good. We did pretty good on the pumpkin beer night. We did great, and also on the night where we each drank a bottle of whiskey, did fine.
I didn't hear about the whiskey night, but
when we went to whiskey tasting.
I was gonna say you handled yourself perfectly well on pumpkin beer night. You made it to the end, unlike many others.
Yeah, I'm not a quitter. All right, moving on. Which of these two stories would you like first? The Star Wars movies that were canceled that we'll never get, or the Apple A24 partnership?
Let's go with Apple A24.
All right. So this came from entertainmentew.com, whatever. It's on a bunch of
Entertainment Weekly.
A bunch of different platforms. But basically, Apple and A24, there's a partnership going on there for certain films to be produced in a multi-year deal that will air on Apple's platform. It's not decided whether, or it's not like really said whether or not those films will also make it to theaters. I don't know if they're deciding that still, or if they just don't have the language yet, or whatnot. But that's basically the deal. Apple is starting their own premium service where they'll have content made directly for it and nothing else, exclusive content, all this. So basically, you subscribe to everything until you have no money left. They're adding to that. And but A24 is if there was one thing that you could have said to get me to try this, that was probably it.
Yeah, it's disappointing because I'm worried they're going to ruin the good thing that they've got going.
I am curious as well about that. I'm wondering though if the movies still get to theaters, then there's no problem.
Yeah,
I have no issue with it.
Yeah, that's true. No, I'm not worried about that aspect of it. Honestly, I'm worried about them meddling because of this partnership. That's what I'm worried about.
It doesn't seem so much that I don't know because it's not.
So it's just a limited partnership, right? They didn't buy ownership in them or anything.
Correct. It's just a partnership, and
that's probably fine then. Whatever.
Yeah, it's just for like exclusivity for the debuts on like this Apple service.
Sometimes these sorts of things though worry me that they're like lease with the option to buy.
Right. I can see that, but I don't know. They're doing such an incredible job. I could see like it's probably a vote of confidence, and there's definitely a following to those movies. So
yeah,
us included.
Yeah, so no, we love it. They're like
our subscription.
They're our favorite like smaller studio. A24 has been crushing it with it's basically everything that we've attempted to go see.
But like I said though, if they're going to continue to release in theaters, then great, partner up all you want, but don't take my movies out of the theaters. I'm
guessing they're probably going to do like that limited release thing, like what Netflix is doing, that allows them to actually have it be Oscar viable.
And that's probably like A24 is like, sure, but you have to do this because we're going to win some shit.
Because it's like, hey, you realize the whole reason that we matter is because we have an incredibly high rate of success of getting things nominated and winning.
What if this helps them? Great, because the more that we can do to support A24, I am all for it.
Oh yeah, I'm totally down for them having money to be successful. I just worry about them having Apple as overlords.
Sure, and that was my initial reaction when I read it too. I was like, what does this mean? I was like, don't screw this up. It's great right now.
Yeah, don't kill the golden goose.
But I think if it's just a partnership, you're just gonna get that boost, and if it's just for like exclusivity for like where it's going to stream after the fact, I'm fine with it. I really don't care.
Because that doesn't bother me.
I still go to the movies and I still buy movies. I don't really care.
Wherever it is that I'm going to watch it, I just want to know that what I'm getting into is going to be a quality offering, and they have been doing that. I'm not like I've seen every one of their movies because they're ramping up their production as it goes, but they're not getting too big for their britches. They're expanding at like a predetermined pace, you know what I mean? And they're putting out quality stuff. Even the stuff that I haven't seen seem to be very well regarded, and stuff that I might want to check out later on, even if it's not when it comes out.
Right. Yeah. Anyway, that's that. So we'll definitely be keeping our eyes on that and seeing what happens there, because A24 near and dear to our hearts. Would you like to take it away with a news and or nugget?
Sure. Do you only have that one Star Wars one left?
Correct.
Oh, well, I have a Star Wars one as well, so I'll leave that till later.
Sounds
so we don't double up our Star Wars. Let's go with Bad Boys for Life.
Oh, okay.
Bad Boys 3. This is from comicbook.com. Bad Boys 3 gets a cringeworthy title, and I would like to shout out an assist from the Peanut Gallery, who brought this to my attention shortly before the episode. So thank you, Dominic. So it's officially titled Bad Boys for Life, but with a 3 instead of the E. Doing what...
It would have been worth dropping a horrible third movie just so you can use a 4.
Yes. I'm actually surprised it's not Bad Boys for Life 3.
Oh my god.
No, but yeah, doing what the absolutely like cowardly like F8 of the Furious refused to do.
Yep.
If you're gonna do this and it's a big dumb movie, be big and dumb with your title. F8 of the Furious was the biggest and dumbest of the movies.
Yeah.
Get big and dumb with your title.
Yeah, I completely agree.
So I applaud this dumb movie for deciding to lean into the dumb.
Okay. All right, that's fair. I really enjoy Bad Boys, and I really want to see a third one. I'm sure I don't think it's going to be good, but I'm definitely going to watch it.
I mean, I know people love these. I've seen all of 2, although I don't really remember it that well because I mostly have seen it broken up into different like component parts. I don't even know if I've ever seen all of the first one.
The thing is, the first one's good. 2, they did lean in to the humor and the let's be ridiculous, and that movie is laugh out loud funny.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm excited for, is more of that. Because
I mean, everyone knows and talks about the scene where Martin Lawrence's daughter's boyfriend comes to the house. Like, it's a great scene. Everyone enjoys it. The scene where they go to the boss's house and he's on, was it on acid or on ecstasy?
Rub your leather, Mike? Ecstasy.
Ecstasy, yeah.
That's a nice fucking fish.
Yeah,
that's a nice fucking fish.
Call the wife. The scene where they're in the morgue and he lays down on the slab with the naked girl, like.
Yeah. Or honestly, I love the captain, Joe Pantaleone.
Yeah.
What is he? I can't remember the exact numbers, but early on in the movie, you crashed 27 cars and a boat. How'd you sink a boat? And they have him rubbing his ears, and he's doing his woosa, woosa. Oh man, that movie cracks me up. But yes, the Martin Lawrence high on ecstasy scene is probably the best. That's part of that. I absolutely love it. But yeah, I'm in for this. We should probably do like just a Bad Boys trilogy episode though.
All 3 together?
Yeah.
All right. I have to watch the first 2 to do that, but okay.
Yeah, like, and you can watch them over time. This movie's not coming out for a while, right?
Oh yeah, no, I don't even know if they've fully gotten to production.
It's probably it's late 2019. It's probably like summer 2020. Like
could be
like blockbuster time 2020. Feels like the right time for something like that. I'm excited for that. Sweet.
So well, to give you know, you can go ahead if you want. I was gonna say because I have one very small nugget, one medium-sized new, and one potentially very large nugget.
Okay, all right. Let's get into this, and then I'll just let you take it away. So okay. I came across this little jammy earlier today from Digital Spy, and it was the 6 Star Wars movies that you'll never get to see. Mind you, they immediately screw up the count here because the first one is 3 movies. But the first one, and it just got me thinking. That's the only.
Now, are these things that like were rumored to have existed, or is it just something that they're saying we're never going to get?
They were rumored to have existed, or have actually been like more than just a thought.
Okay. So
the first one is episodes 7, 8, and 9 from George Lucas.
Okay.
So his version of that. And while I'm very happy we're getting what we are getting, there is a part of me that is very curious what that would have been.
Maybe in a different time, under different circumstances, but
like
the way
not
things
that
went
long
down,
after 3. Like I would like to, if they kept it going, I would have been interested to see that.
It would have been more interesting to see that if he made that starting in, say, 1990.
That's fair.
Where you could use the original cast, and it's like, hey, this is 10 years later, type of thing.
Yeah, that would have been cool. I would have liked
that. By the
that.
time the prequels came out, the first one came out, was 17 years later or 14 years later or something like that? I don't know.
Sometime it passed.
Yeah. And then that goes from 1999 to 2005. And then we're going to give it a break because we get a break between trilogies, which I understand a break, whether it be a fucking 20-year break.
Right.
But at that point, he was never going to make any more of them. And we were all kind of soured on that anyway. Mm-hmm. If they had done that in that gap, right? Because the originals, they came out, 77, 80, and 83?
I think so. That sounds right.
So if you come out with the first one in 1990 or 1993, whatever, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I would have totally been on board for that. And then the prequels come out in the early mid-2000s, whatever.
Yeah.
Great, fine.
Yeah.
But other than that, like the way things went, I wasn't looking forward to more Lucas made movies, Lucas helmed movies.
That's the thing. I don't want to mislead you. I don't necessarily want those movies. I am curious as to what they would be.
I mean, if he had gone back to the way they had done it originally, well, I'll say quote unquote originally, with him at the top, like as the idea man, and helped write the script and, dabbled a little bit, but letting someone else do the actual directing and someone else who can say no in the writer's room, the way it was with Empire and Return of the Jedi, then I would have been fine with it. But it's obvious that him completely unrestrained with the prequels is blessing and curse. There's plenty of good in those movies. Mm-hmm. There's just so much bad as well.
Sure.
So you get the best and the worst of him.
Well, we'll never know. But the next one on the list is the Boba Fett /movies.
At this point, I don't care. He's all hype, no substance.
Yeah, that's. But more on that later. The next one on this list is the Droid movie, and that I thought was interesting. It was just an idea. This was early on. Lucas was thinking about making just a movie about R2-D2 and C-3PO, or a series of movies with the adventures of these characters. That is something that I'm glad didn't happen. That probably could have happened.
Yeah, but the thing is, they basically did that with all the shows and stuff.
Yes.
By putting them in everything, and they get plenty of run in the Clone Wars. And as well as in the prequel movies. Yeah. I don't mind them finding opportunities like that, and they're still involved, you know what I mean? And I don't have a problem with that. They do not need a standalone movie.
There was a thought that there would be a all-Wookiee movie, just about the Wookiee homeland.
One might argue that they did that anyway.
There is a Mos Eisley spaceport movie that I might be able to get behind. I just want to see all these creepy, weird ass characters just
a more around. Wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Yeah. All sorts of chaos in there. That could have been interesting.
It's possible we may be getting that in The Mandalorian, though.
Right, and that's what I'm curious about, is if you'll see more, like if you will get to see some of these areas that we have explored before, just in more depth.
Well, all I know is that those first set photos that they showed, it looked like he was in Mos Eisley.
Yeah. Or just another sand town with buildings.
Well, but it wasn't just sand. It was that specific look of on the streets in like a marketplace.
Yeah, you're right. It definitely does look that way. And the final one on the list was Splinter of the Mind's Eye, and this is an interesting one. This was
That was one of the expanded universe things, wasn't it?
Correct, by Alan Dean Foster. And
I know that name. I don't think I ever read that book, though.
Written with the theory that if A New Hope flopped, they could make this movie next. But since A New Hope went well, they ended up expanding and making that more cohesive trilogy out of it.
Okay. What was the Splinter of a Mind's Eye about? Or what was the whole thing?
Hang on, let's see. I think I could pull it up here.
So I definitely know that name. I've heard it before. But
I'll read this blurb from Digital Spy. Written in 1978 with the intention of being adapted into a movie, Alan Dean Foster's novel follow Luke and Leia marooned on a swampy planet and going in search of a force-enhancing crystal. There was a strange old woman and some hairy aboriginal creatures that sound a little similar to Yoda and the Wookiees, while Han Solo was confined to a brief mention at the end. Thankfully, A New Hope was a massive hit and led to an even more success with The Empire Strikes Back. Splinter of the Mind's Eye is still a definitive story in the defunct expanded universe.
Okay. Yeah, it's something that, like, it rings a bell with me. I've definitely heard mentioned before, but I've never read it.
Yeah, it's crazy how many of those expanded universe books exist and are now dismissed.
But the thing is, they are all steadily, not all, but a lot of them are steadily getting pulled into. And that's why I'm kind of losing, not kind of, I have been actively losing patience with people griping about what's going on with the canon. They're pretty steadily pulling the best, most important stuff. The best
pieces. Yeah, which good for them. People are just going to be mad because it's a thing that they liked. That's fine.
Sure. I mean, it really comes down to at the end of, it's just not what you expected. because I went through some shock with that. Not so much with The Force Awakens, but with The Last Jedi. I went through some shock of, oh wow, this is really not what I expected, and I was good with that. Like it, because I realized I don't know what I expected. Actually, you know what I mean? Like, it's hard to actually put it to words what it was into like a full cohesive thing. Like, there was theories I had about where it might go and stuff like that. And some of it, I guess, kind of maybe popped up, but most of it didn't. And I'm good with it because what came out was good on its own. And
totally agree.
I mean, we're the biggest problem that the Star Wars fanship is dealing with is that it's the battle between forging something new and dealing with your own hangups with nostalgia.
Right.
And people complained about The Force Awakens, rightfully, I think, that it was just about the nostalgia, right? There was a whole fucking season of South Park about it, basically. Right? Because it was a pretty close carbon copy of Episode 4.
Which is so funny because a lot of people that are mad about 8 were like, it's not Empire. It's like, what do you want? There
was a really loud hue and cry that Episode 7 was too close to Episode 4. We don't want to repeat. So they listened and they gave you something you didn't see before.
Oh my god!
Like it or not, and it's not perfect. I can't stress enough. Like it seems like that's a big hang up between the people who liked it and didn't like it. It's like, you don't have to agree with everything that happened to be able to enjoy it and appreciate it. And there can be things that are less good about it or that you don't enjoy about it or that don't work for you that doesn't ruin it. Like, it's not perfect, but it's pretty damn good. And another issue I have just in general, which we don't have to get into, is a lot of people don't understand the difference between something going wrong or being convenient or inconvenient and not being plot holes.
And you're going to need to throw a shoe at him.
Yeah, I know. He's been snoring for a bit. And it's been getting louder and louder. Yeah, no, it's just there's a difference between a plot hole and someone doing something stupid written into the script or doing something that doesn't work out. Like, just because something doesn't go right doesn't mean it was a plot hole. Or just because it's slightly inconsistent or not fully explained doesn't make it a plot hole. And because I see a lot of that online and in conversation I've had with people. Yeah. And it's like, no. The thing you're talking about is something you disagree with. Or something that's, that was a dumb thing the character did. But they're human, mortal, fallible. It's not a plot hole. You understand? Like,
no, they don't.
Yeah, and that's so. I mean, but it's fine. Like, it happens. Yeah, we'll all get over it. Like, it's not a big deal.
I mean, we got over it. I don't think everybody's gonna get over it. It's great. It's a great movie. I love it. All right, that's it. That's all I've got for news and nuggets. I'm gonna allow you to take over from here.
All right, let's cleanse the palate. Not to say there's a bad thing, just to get into a new topic with a very light, easy thing. A quick nugget. I was going to see the Struts play, and anyone who knows of them, they're a pretty big band, and they were playing at Newburgh Brewing. We are friends with them, whether or not they're fully friends with us on the show. I don't want to say that they're a friend of the podcast.
That's great.
Kind of a one-way relationship. We like their beer a lot, especially me. I am friends with people there, including one of the owners. But we have yet to secure funding and sponsorship from them.
It's amazing.
Mostly because I have an ass. But they host once a month via one of the radio stations up here a free concert series with a bunch of different bands. And some of them are bands that you barely have heard of or have never heard of. But they've had a bunch of legit bands there too. And the Struts is one of the biggest ones. Like, they're a big legit band. Last night they were on with Jimmy Fallon. And so today they drove up the hour north to where I live to play this free show at one of our favorite breweries. I was going to go. I didn't go because of snow, which is very unfortunate. But that is a really cool thing that they do there. And if anyone who's listening to us is in the Hudson Valley area, you should check out when they do those free shows because it's cool, and you should drink their beer because it's awesome.
Also, I've been to a decent number of breweries at this point. I really like that place.
Yes, it's cool.
The layout, it's just the atmosphere. It's really great, and the beer is fantastic. So
yeah,
it's all around a good choice if you're in the area.
Nice. Yeah. So now I have two things left. Do you want something else Star Wars related, or do you want the other somewhat surprise?
I want the Star Wars thing. I want to save the onions for the end.
Okay, save the onions for the end. So the last thing is in a follow-up to something we've discussed in recent weeks. We're finally getting casting news for The Mandalorian.
Dun, dun, dun.
So Gina Carano has been cast as one of the leads in The Mandalorian.
And who is that?
She is a former MMA fighter, and she is an actress now. She was in Deadpool. She was Ed Skrein's bodyguard, the chick who was like his right-hand man.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yes.
The first thing I ever saw her in, I was ever familiar with her, was she was the lead in the movie Haywire. It was a Steven Soderbergh movie. Really good cast. It was...
I will allow you to take a moment and go punch him in the stomach.
Hey, Dominic! Hey, Dominic! We'll start throwing coasters at him.
You're the worst.
Hey, Dominic!
That was a loud thwap. Did that hit him in the face?
No, it hit him and then it bounced and fell on the floor.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Dominic!
This is amazing. This makes for great radio.
You're snoring on the show again. Oh, sweet. Yeah, he's not good at waking up and talking.
Oh, sweet.
There's been a lot of good stories about that. He did one the other day. I don't even remember what he said, but it was hilarious, and he doesn't remember. I forgot to bring it back up to him later.
That's great.
Awesome.
So,
are you familiar with the movie Haywire? Getting back to Gina Carano?
I am not.
It came out maybe 5-ish years ago.
Okay.
She was the lead in that. She plays an assassin, and she works for... I don't even remember if he was an assassin or if he's just like a contractor to like hiring these sorts of people. It was Ewan McGregor.
Okay.
And so she and Channing Tatum and that guy whose name I can't remember. The guy who played young Magneto in the new X-Men movies.
Oh.
I just clicked on his name.
Fassbender?
Yes, Michael Fassbender is another one. Her father was Bill Paxton. It was a good cast. Okay. And she shows off it was kind of Atomic Blonde before Atomic Blonde, but in a modern setting.
Oh, that's cool.
It was actually a pretty solid movie. Yeah, it was a Steven Soderbergh movie. He's a good director. It was a good movie. She did a pretty good job in it. But the thing is, most of the things I've seen her in since then, she's the star of that movie. Most of the things I've seen her in since, she's playing second fiddle or has zero lines in stuff. So I think she's going to be a lead in this. It says the exact nature of her role is being kept under wraps. But in other news, she joins Pedro Pascal in the series, whom Variety reported earlier this week was in negotiations to star. So that rumor is coming to fruition.
And who is that?
Pedro Pascal is the one we talked about in the last couple times. He's Agent Whiskey from
Right.
Kingsman. And what's his name from Game of Thrones? Oberyn Martell.
I'm doing this both for the listener and for myself because, as you know, I do not remember people's names.
I do. I just figured we talked about it so many times recently that you'd probably remember at this point.
Yeah, that's. Well, I mean, as soon as you gave me the slightest hint, yes, it came back to me. That'll be good. I'm excited to check that out. I'm very curious how that show's going to go. Me
too, and I don't mean to bring it up nearly every week, but we're now finally getting real tangible news from it, which...
You don't have to apologize. I see the hype train building. The anticipation is rising.
The anticipation is rising.
The fire rises.
So I'm pretty excited for that.
As am I. So you've got one more...
I do.
One more thing for us. I've been waiting for this all goddamn day.
So to start this off, I was reading an article that I found to be interesting. It's oh, this could be something cool to talk about on the show. And as I read the article more, I was like, this is definitely something we could talk about on the show. And then I came across this paragraph in this article that had almost, and I stress almost because it's not entirely, nothing to do with the topic itself and what we're going to be talking about. So I sent a screenshot to Anthony earlier today from this article. It's an article on The Ringer.
You have it handy? Because I have it pulled up.
Yes, I have it handy.
Right.
So I said to him, I have a new segment for the show. We'll be debuting tonight. This is a sample of the article that I'm reading for it. I'm going to read you the sample I sent to him. There is one major exception. Onions. In the mid-1950s, two men successfully schemed to corner the country's onion market, storing millions of pounds of onions in giant warehouses so that they could control prices. At one point, one of the men admitted to owning 98% of the onions in the United States.
They then, see, that's the part that drives me crazy, is in the screenshot, the last two words are they then, and then that's it. And this entire day, I've been wondering, where does this story go? Also, what is this about?
So here's the thing. So we have some of our recurring segments that aren't weekly, but we use them often enough. We have what are we watching? We have Killing a Narrative. We have Reading, the fan favorite. So here is the new segment we're debuting, and it's called Learning.
Oh, okay. Keeping it simple.
What?
Keeping it simple.
Yes. So I'm going to read you the rest of that paragraph so you know what they then did. They then flooded the market and shorted onions in the futures market as the prices dropped to near zero. Their plot made them millions, but crashed the onion market and bankrupted a lot of farmers. It is against the law to make money. Oh, sorry. If it's against the law to make money, said Vincent Kasuga, known as the Onion King of Pine Island, then I'm guilty.
Oh, my God.
So, funny thing, I read that sentence, Vincent Kasuga, known as the Onion King of Pine Island. I was like, Pine Island. I was just there yesterday. That's where I buy my beer stuff. It must be some other Pine Island. So then I looked up Vincent Kasuga, the Onion King of Pine Island. And nope, it's that Pine Island. It's like 45 minutes away from me. And it actually makes perfect sense because it's right in the heart of the Black Dirt region in New York State, which is very well known for being particularly fertile land where a lot of farming goes on. And they produce a ton of food and also now whiskey and beer. They sell their barley and wheat to distilleries and breweries and make really good shit with it. So cool. It's kind of cool, and that's cool that there was some near criminal who cornered the onion market. But that's not why I brought it all up.
That's insane.
This just one paragraph was hysterical to me because this was embedded in an entirely long article about what could have been, and that is a stock exchange for future contracts of movie box office sales. So that's what this whole long article was. The reason the onions thing came up is because I will read what happened right before that paragraph. In the CFTC, which I forget what that is exactly, but it's some sort of regulatory body for future trading, was formed in 1974 to regulate. Oh, sorry, it's the Commodity Future Trading Committee, I think is what it is, to regulate commodity futures markets, and it has rarely disapproved contracts since then. The regulations prevent futures contracts based on terrorism, assassination, war, and gaming, but the CFTC works closely with companies like Cantor, which was mentioned earlier, and we'll get to that, to make sure other contracts are always in shape to be approved. In 1977, Senator Frank Church of Idaho tried to ban the trading of potato futures, claiming abuse in the market that hurt his state's most famous product. Time and time again, potato producers from across the nation have indicated that they have no desire to have trading in futures. He told the Washington Post in support of the potato growers of Idaho and the National Potato Council. They're tired of being the innocent victims of economic power plays by speculators. But the CFTC didn't budge and Church's potato futures bill went nowhere. So then it led into the one major exception, onions. Onions, this whole situation is the only time futures was disapproved by this thing. They literally made a law about it in 1958 because
oh my God,
of what happened with these onions.
That's crazy.
Except that this banning of onion futures ended up biting everyone in the ass like a couple of years ago. So what this all really was about was in 2001, Let me scroll up to find this. In May 2001, the financial firm Cantor Fitzgerald made a simple purchase, the Hollywood Stock Exchange. Everyone has strong opinions about movies, and for Cantor, this was a way of turning those opinions into money. For the HSX, it was a way of capitalizing on the data generated by its 30,000 daily users. On hsx.com, anyone who signed up and logged in was instantly handed $2 million, fake $2 million, to invest in the success or failure of Hollywood films. The primary mode of investment was called a movie stock, and the value was based on the first 4 weeks of film's box office revenue. The Princess Diaries was released August 3rd of that year. Let's say you were an early believer in Anne Hathaway. You saw the Diaries trailer in July. Your eyes were wetted, and you knew that if anyone with half a heart remained in America, the movie would be a hit when it came out in a few weeks. You would have bought 5,000 of the Princess Diaries movie stocks at $51.03 apiece. That price reflected the HSX market's belief that the film would make $51 million in its first 4 weekends at the box office, plus the weekdays in between. Each dollar in the movie stock price represented $1 million in real box office revenue. 4 weeks after the movie opened, you would have been rolling in dough because Hathaway rolled to an $82.39 million domestic in that time period. Your profit was $31.36 per share. Not bad for an August release. One problem, it was play money. All you could do with the Diaries profit was shop more on the HSX and brag about it in a pre-credit form. So this was all setting up. This was the forerunner to them creating a real, true stock exchange for futures contracts for box offices. So you could speculate on a movie before it came out, just like you would buying a futures contract on a commodity like oil or corn or wheat, whatever, or playing with like stock options in the stock market. So this was all happening in the year 2001. Then 9/11 happened. Cantor Fitzgerald was headquartered on 5 of the highest floors of One World Trade Center, and 650 of the firm's employees lost their lives. No company was hit harder that day, so box office futures became an afterthought. Literally, the company died that day.
Yeah.
So over the next several years, this idea, once an idea happens, right, it doesn't die. So again, in 2006, there was someone else, Robert Swagger, who was an entrepreneur. He gave the idea a shot again. He spoke at a conference in California about managing risk in the energy sector. Someone brought up this idea of the movies thing. So that's what the whole idea of futures is like, if you're a farmer who like grows and sells corn, you could buy a future contract to mitigate if something happened. Like you could buy it in January for your next year's harvest, and if some crazy strain of some disease killed your corn product and you weren't going to be able to yield what you expected, you would be protected against it. It's all about risk management. And that was what the idea of what this was going on. So he created a new company, Media Derivatives Incorporated, known as MDEX, with the goal of creating an electronic futures exchange for contracts based on box office results. Again, the same idea. In 2007, he said, Swagger believes his background in risk management could help Hollywood financiers, the studios and their investors, reduce losses in an inherently unpredictable business where for every massive hit like The Sixth Sense, there was at least one flop like Gigli. Our products will allow a host of parties with financial interests in the movie, production and revenue chain to hedge the enormous risk associated with producing, distributing, financing, and insuring major motion pictures. Among the groups to be named as possible hedgers, the original screenplay owners, investment banks syndicating a financing slate, film talent, theater owners, distributors, marketing partners, and independent and major film studios, including the Big Six, Disney, Paramount, Sony, 20th Century Fox, Universal, and Warner Brothers. So this thing keeps coming up and again. So they get in front of Congress. Cantor Fitzgerald and MDEX ended up kind of partnering together because Cantor Fitzgerald was on the rebound eventually.
Yeah.
At this point. They get in front of Congress and they start lobbying because they know that they're going to get a lot of resistance to this idea because anytime something like this comes up, the people who you're betting on, whether it be stocks, whether it be gambling, whatever, the people who you're gambling on want a piece of the action. So they're getting into a fight in front of Congress with Hollywood itself.
Right.
This is
I'm
ripping
just
up.
picturing like the cartoon version of this, and it's like the two people, one from each side of the company, and then the Hollywood sign,
Yeah.
and and those three entities are feuding.
So they changed the name. They go through all this stuff. Throughout 2007, they're going ahead, and then 2007, 2008, the collapse of Bear Stearns, Lehman Brothers, the investment banks, the recession comes in, and they start drafting Dodd-Frank in Congress. All these banking Wall Street laws to help protect from another financial crisis like this again, and they get completely shut down by this. All they're arguing, they get approved 2 different movies future contracts to trade, and then Dodd-Frank completely eradicates any future trading, and so these things never come to bear as a real viable marketplace. It's basically made illegal because Hollywood lobbied against it, and it didn't get written into the Dodd-Frank regulations.
That's crazy. Also feels like an area that I can get myself into if it were a thing. I feel like I might be successful there.
Yeah, so I fast forwarded to the end because not just a bet or a guess, right? Well, the funny thing is the one major studio that backed it was Lionsgate, because of course they would. That's like they always zig when the industry zags.
Yeah.
And they looked at it as another chance for them to make money, because it is. It's a chance for anyone who wants to be willing to be a part of this to make money. And not that all of the arguments against it were invalid. There was some. They go over some of it, like
sure.
Oh, hey, look, I found that paragraph. What if a studio executive knew of an actor's drug problem and decided to encourage it and tell TMZ so that the executive could short the film and make a fortune?
Right.
What if someone getting crash services decided to spread a false rumor on Facebook that the hot young director was sleeping with a 15-year-old? What if an agent held back promotion by a client, say pulling Russell Crowe from The Daily Show for a film so as to up the value of a short contract? So they were very concerned about manipulation by the players involved.
Right.
Because it would kind of play up the whole idea of insider trading. But the problem is futures inherently invite insider trading. That's why they're so closely regulated.
Right. That's interesting. Oh man, this whole thing it's really got me thinking.
Yeah, so I want you to add this article to the Flipboard.
Yeah.
We can link to it in our article on thespinchew.com.
For sure. That was the Ringer, as usual.
It's on the Ringer, as usual. I do find a lot of stuff on the Ringer.
I say that as usual. I mean, the things that you pull from them are just fantastic. Like what they pump out just quality stuff.
Well, there's a lot of other crap too, and stuff that's not super important, like how important it is that Diego Luna gets to touch Jabba the Hutt's skin.
Okay, hang on. That was amazing.
What?
That was amazing.
It was. I need to send you that article so you can read it, because I just sent you the headline and the tagline underneath it.
Sometimes
you need to read
you
it,
need.
because it's even better than just that, even though you said that's all I need.
It's so good.
No, listen, they're not perfect. There's plenty of crap. There's plenty of stuff that you may not be interested in. There's plenty of stuff that I'm not interested in, despite the fact that I love the website. But they do a ton of good reporting and a ton of good, interesting, insightful looks into stuff. That's where the Villains podcast, which just debuted today, started. It's going to be once weekly. I've been waiting to see when
I subscribed to last week, and I got really excited when something popped up, and then I realized it was just an intro video.
I know. I did the exact same thing. I was like, what the fuck? And then I went back and looked, and they never even said when it was starting. It started today. Every Thursday at 6 a.m. is when it's going to be out.
I'm very excited to listen to that. I will say, just to touching on the quality of the stuff though, that they put out, the article that you sent that we've been joking about heavily with this whole onions piece in it. The person didn't know that going into this article.
No,
that's what I think is amazing.
They're real journalists.
Yeah,
they do work. They fuck around and have a lot of fun doing dipshit stuff, but they do real serious, interesting stuff. Even if it's not like changing the world stuff. Like, I'm not talking about like investigative journalism, like breaking stuff up, but they do research on there. There's very well thought out, planned, researched topics that they write about. There's a lot of interesting stuff across all of pop culture, movies, music, TV, sports. It's a good website. Yeah, it really it's not Bratland, but it's pretty damn good still.
It's funny because when you send me, there's just everybody knows this. When they have that one person that'll send them things, and it's usually sends them an article, sends them this, sends them that. when that goes on for 3 pages, you're just like, oh, this shit again. Like, I don't want to read the thing you're interested in. I want to read the thing I'm interested in. Every time you send me something from them, I make the time.
Well, because I know that that's a thing that everyone deals with in their life. Yeah. I only send you something that I know you're going to find interesting.
Right.
Or entertaining or whatever.
You guys got to get yourself an Al. You got to get yourself somebody that's going to send you things that you can be fairly confident that it's worth the read.
Yes.
Every once in a while, you're going to get a good time out of it. But
I am a curator of content. I only send and refer things to people that I know they're going to like. The people in my life who I'm close to, I know their tastes and interests. I send them the things that they're going to want to see.
What did I do to you that you told me to watch Good Time?
No, it's different. I said I was interested in seeing it because I saw the trailer for it and I was interested in it. So then we saw it. I just happened to watch it before you did, but we had committed to doing an episode on that beforehand.
Right.
It wasn't a movie that I had seen and they said, hey, we should do an episode.
You could have called it, man. You could have called it.
No, because I had told you we had too good of a run where everything was sunshine and rainbows and we both loved everything and agreed on everything. We needed to do something that was going to make us feel a little sick, make us enjoy the good times.
That's what they did. The Walking Dead watched that movie before the last season, and then they were like, you know what we need to do with these cameras? Shove them out people's noses. That's exactly what happened. Man. Awesome. Shall we get into the flick of the week?
Absolutely.
It is the 25th anniversary of Batman, The Mask of the Phantasm.
Oh, wait, hang on. Did I ever actually say what the title of this article was so people could find it?
I don't know if you did, actually. Go ahead.
I told you where it was and what it was about, but I feel like I would be remiss if I didn't mention that it was called Box Office Bomb, The Short Life of Popcorn Prediction Markets by Sean Revive.
Well, there you have it.
You gotta properly credit the people stuff you read on air, man. Like you can't.
For sure. No, for sure. For sure. Our flick of the week is Batman: The Mask of the Phantasm. It is the 25th anniversary of this animated film, and I was very, very excited to hear that it was going to be one of those. Was it? It's not Fandango events. Something. Can't think of the words. Is it Fandango? Fathom events.
I was gonna say I would bail you out, but I have no idea. So.
They'll randomly play an older movie or something that's like in the spotlight for whatever reason, whether it's an anniversary like this one or it's just like a collection of like horror movies, for example. Like there was, during Halloween they'll maybe put out a couple of old school horror movies. This particular one was the 25th anniversary of Mask of the Phantasm, which I remember seeing as a kid and being enthralled with. Naturally, right? That goes without saying. It's a Batman thing. It's me. You can just assume that I partook in that. But it was right. That works. Yeah. But it was I just remember it being something very special, and I hadn't watched it in a very long time. And when I saw that they were going to be playing it in theaters, I got really excited. And we talked about this last week, and I bought tickets and I went to see it in theaters last Monday, which was really great to see a movie like this on the big screen. It's a lot of fun.
I thought you were going to say it's really great to see a movie like this on a Monday.
That too. That is just how you do Monday. It's way better that way. What's amazing about the event, though, is they also played a Roadrunner cartoon before it.
That's kind of funny.
Which I thought was fantastic.
It makes sense because that was when they had the old school WB with Bugs Bunny.
Where he bites the carrot and leans on the sign.
Yeah.
That's exactly how it starts off. But what blows my mind about this is everything about the Roadrunner cartoon was similar, reminded me of like an old one. Because if you remember Roadrunner, if you've seen those cartoons, it's the same episode 1,000 times.
What do you mean?
With a minor difference. It's just, Wile E. Coyote screwing up, blowing himself up. And it's usually the same series of things that happens. There's a lot of repetition, but it is very entertaining. The thing was, I was like, oh, this looks like, it started off as like, this looks vaguely familiar, but it's in 3D. It was a 3D rendered Roadrunner cartoon.
Interesting.
And I was like, weird. I wonder if they took the same, like an old one, and they re-rendered it. But then,
wait, now you mean like it looked like an HD like remaster, or like they completely redesigned an old cartoon?
I was thinking they redesigned an old cartoon because it was actually like 3-dimensional. It wasn't 2D hand art. It was
Oh,
three-dimensional
so
art.
3D computer model. Like,
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And I thought like, oh, like I wonder if they remade, because a lot of it was like reminded me of a previous one, and then it started taking a turn and segues were involved and it was more modernized, and I was like, okay, no, they didn't. But it was really funny just because Roadrunner is repetitive, but it was really fun to watch that before the movie, and also really fun that they actually took the time to make one more modernized and have the updated like rendering graphics. Now, mind you, the hand nothing will beat the hand drawn like version of that show, because it was just there's just something so charming about it.
Yeah.
But it was really cool to like you don't get that. We didn't get that growing up. We didn't get the movie before that. We didn't get the cartoon before the movie. But occasionally there'll be something special where that happens. Maybe a Pixar movie. Pixar movies generally have them. They have like a quick like 10-minute, 15-minute
The
thing.
short or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, but back in the day with old school movies, like going to the movies was an event. You had a couple cartoons. You had like a whole bunch of features, like things like that before the main attraction. But this was I just love when you get that little bonus. And what's crazy when you go through these Fathom events, there's no previews.
Okay.
Because I think that they probably plan them out in enough time, I would guess, that they don't know what they can attach to it. And then there's also usually licensing considerations.
I was saying there's usually some sort of contract.
Exactly. So once the time of the movie hits, it just starts. So it starts, but in this case, it was the cartoon beforehand.
Yeah.
But like, there's no waiting. It's like, here we go. It's like, oh, yep, 7:00. Here we go. It's on. This is great. And you dive right in. And it was really fun. And then that warms you up with this nice lighthearted thing before you start to hear the intro music for Mask of the Phantasm, which is just, it's dark and creepy and amazing. And
that's almost exactly one of my notes.
Really?
The music is horrifying, but perfect.
Yes, it is so well done. The thing is, this is a really, really great rendition of a Batman story, and it has all of the parts necessary for a Batman story. You don't need the origin. You know who he is. You don't need to see his parents getting shot. You know what happens. Like,
but they still give it the proper reflection on that loss in his life, and that
I like that they do it. Now, mind you, we're gonna probably just be in a spoiler territory. It's 25 years old, the movie. Go see it, and then come back. The thing is, what we get is, though, we get it in a more adult fashion of this man reflecting, thinking about his dead parents, and there's a lot of psychology in this movie.
Well, the funny thing is they give you the child sensibilities of it, where like they did like the old school, like, oh, they're gonna kiss, like pan away type of thing. I always think of the Family Guy joke where they did like a flashback to Babs and Carter when they first like get involved in a relationship, and there's like them rolling around on the floor, and they start giggling, and and the camera starts panning up to look out the window as like the fire's crackling, and you hear Carter from off screen say, "Oh, no, the camera's panning away tastefully, but there's a lot of good stuff going on here." The innuendo is, and they do that in this too, with like the time when they have the flashback to her meeting him at the house after he was all beat up and he's practicing his jiu-jitsu.
Yep.
And they pan away as Alfred had come out and look, and also like you never see anyone die on screen.
Yeah.
Everyone dies just off screen, or the action happens and then it cuts to something else, and you see the aftermath, and you know the person died, but you didn't see it happen.
Yep. So
they have those sensibilities, even though it's an incredibly mature story delivered in an incredibly mature structure. Which, like, again, watching it, and I mentioned it briefly when we discussed it in the past, like, I couldn't follow this movie as a kid, even though I loved it. It took me watching it many times as a kid to figure out exactly what it was that was going on.
Yeah.
And watching it again now, it's like, man, how did I even hold on, like, and enjoy it enough to do that? Like, was just Batman enough?
That's what I'm wondering.
I totally didn't get this as a kid, and like I knew I didn't get it.
Yep. Yeah, that's totally fair. I was wondering that myself as I was watching. I was like, man, like this is really solid storytelling. This is a really deep, emotional story that's happening. like exploring like Bruce Wayne's psyche and like how he reacts to things and his relationships and his emotions.
Not
And
just that, like not just that undertone of all of that, and kind of the way that we talk about how people make decisions and go about what they're doing. The structure is incredibly advanced,
yeah,
and complex. They had extensive flashbacks throughout the movie, and some of the flashback sequences themselves had progression within the flashback to the point where you forget you're watching a flashback. That was a big reason why I had trouble with it as a kid. They have like movie, and then they go to a flashback, and the flashback goes through 3 different times during his like meeting and relationship with Andrea, and like Andrea, whatever it was, Andrea,
I think.
Andrea. And then it comes back, and I was watching it with Dominic, and he's like, "Wait, that whole thing was a flashback?" I was like, "Yeah,
yeah." That's I was thinking about that while watching
this was all a flashback.
Yeah, I was as we were going into it, and I was realizing what was happening. I was like, "All right, we're still in a flashback. We're still in a flashback." There is no way I followed this when I was younger.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's like the thing like where I watched it so many times as a kid, and then like I kind of didn't watch it for a while. I was like, "Oh, I like Master Phantasm," and watched it again, like not as like a 7-year-old, but as like a 10-year-old. And I was like, "Oh my god, I don't think I ever got this."
It's the thing. Oh my god, it's so beautifully done though, and like I was watching it now for the first time as an adult. I was completely enthralled, and thinking about it, obviously with like all of the other Batman properties that I'm like way too familiar with. So like as I was watching it, I noticed the relationships and like motifs that reflects with the Nolan trilogy that really excited me. So like a couple of things a couple of quick notes I want to rattle off and see if you agree. The effect that relationships have on Batman / Bruce, right? Because we know that he's vulnerable in a relationship in general. Like that is a thing that he has his mindset on in certain situations, and it definitely he definitely makes poor decisions around that. Mm-hmm. Or like he can't be like designated to one thing or the other. He goes back and forth because he knows he has to be 100% one way, and he ends up screwing up, which just
yes. Although this played against that archetype to a certain extent, in that when the relationship dissolves, it's not on him. Mm-hmm. It's usually what you're saying is he makes a choice,
right?
Or the choice that he makes implicitly dissolves it. This is not on him. It's on her situation. I don't want to say it's on her. It's on her situation.
Right.
She calls it off. That's not, and I'm not an expert of the comics itself, but of just the greater lore, just kind of knowing the trends of Bruce Wayne's life. That is a surprise in this aspect.
Which is incredible. It's awesome, though, to think about. Like they explore that in depth, that he didn't have control over that. Mm-hmm. And that is, again, this is a really adult, mature concept.
Like, not just that he didn't have control, but it ate him inside because he wondered what he could have done better, because he thinks he did have some aspect of it.
Right. You know that he went through like a grieving, like even he still is going through like, did I do this?
Yes, he's compounding the grieving of his parents that he's been doing for his entire life with grieving this relationship coming undone. The first time he finally believes that he can trust in having a real life. Like, I forgot about this line, and seeing it again, because I was playing this game during it where it was like, I was trying to remember lines and sequences, because I've seen this movie so many times, but I haven't seen it in 20 years. Like, and there was a lot of things I remembered, some things that I was just slightly off, like some things like, oh, I forgot that was a thing, or I forgot this was the order of it, whatever. But there's when he goes down and he's in the rain in front of his parents' headstone, and he's crying, and he says, "I'm sorry, this wasn't the plan. I didn't account for me being happy."
Right. Oh, that didn't break your heart.
I didn't think I could be happy. It was one of those, something like that. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
That hurts.
Yeah, it's so dark. And
I didn't think I could be happy.
Oh.
Like, at this time, this is like a young man. You know what I mean? Like, he's fully an adult, but like he's like a guy in his 20s at that point in like the chronology, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's a guy in his 20s who watched his parents die when he was like 10 or whatever. Like, I didn't think I could be happy. And it's like racking him and tearing him apart that he's crying in front of his dead parents' headstone, like, because he feels bad that he's fallen in love with someone.
Yeah. Oh my god, it's so good. But that's why I say that it reflects. One of the reasons why I mentioned that it reflects the Nolan trilogy a little bit. While in this one, it's like you said, you say it's on her. We understand what you mean by that. Like
I said it's on her end. Like
and on her end, yeah.
It's not her fault, but
right. But like she made the decision, or like
ended it, not him.
In his mind, like as far as he knows, she like left. And in the Nolan trilogy, though, there's kind of like a back and forth of like, I can't be with you, and then I want to be with you, and now I can't be with you, and because and like this back and forth. So they explore that, but then they take it a bit further in the Nolan trilogy, where ultimately Rachel decides, I'm not going to be with you, and Alfred hides it from her, which just creates this other layer between the relationships of the characters, which is just wonderful. And
that's what I'm saying. That one plays much closer to the type of like his relationships, where it's whether it be because he makes a willful choice or because by throwing himself into the work as Batman, he's implicitly choosing it. It's usually on his end, and for this to go against the grain on that, I thought was interesting.
And what I love about that though is, and that's I like to going back to the Nolan trilogy. What I love what happens there though is the friction between Alfred and Bruce, because what you get in the Mask of the Phantasm is the best version of the relationship between Bruce and Alfred. They're like best buds.
Yes,
they're equals.
It's all the best aspects of the Michael Caine and the Ralph Fiennes Alfred. Lego Batman.
Thank you. I was like, wait, what?
I realized when there was a pause and you looked off screen, and I was like,
I was going through a lot in my head. That's well done. No, for sure. And like just thinking about like it's so I feel like what they did in the Nolan trilogy is they took that relationship and then they drove a wedge between it.
What do you mean? Sorry, what's that?
What with the third movie in the Nolan trilogy. What they did is they took that amazing relationship that you get that example of it here in this movie, in the Mask of the Phantasm. They took that relationship and they drive a wedge between it, with Alfred having hidden the fact.
Yes.
And I just think it makes this movie is so good that it makes me appreciate a movie that I already hold in such high esteem. It makes me appreciate that movie even more.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying.
It's so brilliant.
You get a little bit of the banter with him, which is like the Michael Caine aspect, I think. But you get the nurturing, fatherly stuff from the Ralph Fiennes one without any of the headbutting that you get from either of those.
Hello, secret camera. Yeah, no, absolutely. The development of his alter ego, so like him wanting to build the common Batman theme, though, him wanting to build this, like people won't be afraid of just a regular guy wearing like a ski mask.
Yeah.
Thwarting them. I need something more crazy. And like the development of the bat suit is great, and also reflects like the idea of driving fear into the heart of people, which is also really well done in the Nolan trilogy, not well done in any other of the films. And the last piece which almost seemed as if it was a storyboard shot from Batman Begins, but him diving into the cave to find the Batcave.
Oh yeah.
And it's like you are wearing like all of the spelunking gear, and I'm pretty sure that this is just a drawing that was then used as that clip of him going into the cave.
What do you need all this for? Spelunking. Cave diving.
I love that. But yeah, it's just, man, this movie's wonderful. And then one thing that really stood out clear to me while I was watching it, as soon as Batman opens his mouth, it dawned on me that you could throw any of the actors that played Batman in front of me, and I would remember, they played Batman, but it's
the Kevin Conroy voice.
The Kevin Conroy voice is the iconic Batman voice to me. Adam West is great. The Adam West Batman voice is obviously amazing. But the Kevin Conroy Batman voice is my Batman voice. That's the one, like that. No, like that's the one that's what I hear in my head when I think of Batman's voice, because I grew up with the cartoons.
I'm Batman.
I'm Batman.
Or I'm Batman.
Swear to me.
I was thinking of the scene from Neighbors when,
it's so good.
Seth Rogen and Zac Efron are doing it, and Seth Rogen's doing the Keaton Batman, and Zac Efron's doing the Christian Bale Batman.
So yeah, 100%. I love that. That scene is amazing and cracks me up till no end. But the voice of Kevin Conroy is the voice of Batman. So much so that he was also did the video games. And
he's done multiple movies. He did the animated show, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's probably the reason for the most part, because I watched that show so much as a kid and reruns and over again. So that's embedded in my memory. But he just him doing the I am darkness line is just it's so good. And I listened to an interview with him and Kevin Smith when he was talking about a random person that recognized, I think it might have been a hobo that recognized his voice, and he was like, "Can you do it for me?" Which is just amazing. But
well, the funny thing is even though he may, just because of the sheer volume of lines he read doing the show and the movies, has the iconic Batman voice. But I want to give a little bit of credit. His Bruce Wayne voice, the one I view as most closely related to it, is actually Val Kilmer in Batman Forever. Has the most close Bruce Wayne voice to the Kevin Conroy Bruce Wayne voice.
That's fair. I could kind of hear that. I'm definitely gonna want to listen to that side by side, because
you know what I mean?
I totally get that.
Yeah. And I think Kilmer and Batman Forever gets too much shit. And it doesn't hold up to today's standard of superhero movies, but for its time, it was a good superhero movie and a good Batman movie. I genuinely enjoyed that movie while understanding the flaws in it.
Yeah.
It's a legitimately good movie in its own right when you adjust for context.
Yeah, 100%. You might get the "it's boiling acid" line, but you also get Seal singing "Kissed by a Rose." Yeah. So, it all equals out in the end. That movie is fantastic.
Well, you get Jim Carrey and Tommy Lee Jones hating each other on and off screen.
So good. Oh my God, I love that movie so much. We could definitely dedicate an entire episode to that.
And it's the same thing with this, the theme in this one, it was I remember as soon as I heard it, it's oh yeah, I totally remember. It was da 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 da,
yeah,
da 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 da. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. This is a song
that gives you goosebumps.
Yeah, it is. It's got that perfect march type swelling crescendo to it. And it's funny. The other things that I remember as it was going on, as soon as the Phantasm shows up, it immediately, I remember the second half of it, but I couldn't remember the names. And right before it was said, I remember Chucky Saul, your angel of death awaits.
Yeah.
And I always remember that. I always loved that they use that same line for all of them. Yeah, for Chucky Saul, for Buzz Bronski, for Sal Valestra, but all of those, yeah. Chucky boy,
Yeah, Chucky boy. That's so good. I also, it's terrifying. That outfit, the hook. When you're a kid, that'll scare the shit out of you.
Oh, definitely.
It's great. Just the unnecessary amount of smoke. it's all horrifying.
And also not just the unnecessary amount of smoke, but the questionable physics of it.
Yeah, so good.
Where he's just firing into it, and the smoke's not even obscuring him, and it's not hitting him, and it's wait, what? And then all of a sudden he's just gone, and he's over there now.
So it's
wait,
okay.
what?
It's totally fine. I'll allow it. One of my favorite things about this is, so this Phantasm guy is running around. He's killing people. She's killing people. Spoiler.
That's why I didn't say it. I tried to back off of it in case we never really did a spoiler thing, even though it's 25 years.
Yeah, but so Phantasm's killing people. What I love about it is that the criminals, it's being reported that it's Batman, and the criminals are terrified.
Well, the thing is, I was always a little confused by that, and even watching this, I was wait a minute, it's obviously not Batman. He's present for the first sequence.
Yeah.
With Chucky Saul. And then the Phantasm comes in later on, and that's why the whole thing doesn't work for the rest of it, and then it just grows from there. It's like, okay, that actually is a consistency, not an inconsistency with the plot and everything. Because I was like, guys, it's not Batman. Batman doesn't kill. Like, he keeps talking about how he doesn't kill. And it's like, well, it's because he's present and then he's not. It's like, okay, like that's all totally like tightly like consistent within the story plot of this movie.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy. I love that we get Batman almost gets caught in this movie.
Yes, comes pretty damn close.
And
running around without his mask on.
To the point where when I was watching it, I know full well that he's not going to get caught, but I haven't seen the movie in a really long time, and I was like, how the hell is he going to get out of this one?
Well, and I was getting a little mad because he like buys like the really weak like backstory that she gives too. When she picks him up, like she just rolls up like super like conveniently, and he's running around as Batman without his mask, and she's like, "Get in," and like he waits till they get home. And is like, "How did she know to get there?" And she's like, "It was on TV or whatever."
Mm-hmm.
Even though she had found out, like he doesn't know that she knows about him yet.
Yep.
And he knows that she had already found out, which was like, it's probably the only weak part of this whole movie is how she finds out that it's him. Like, because Batman was standing behind her and it was right next to the Wayne headstone.
I thought about that for a little bit. What I actually like about that scene is...
I know it mirrors their first meeting. But
that is great, but he screwed up. He should have never been seen. And he screwed up because it's her. And that's what I love about it. She makes him weak. Like
that's true.
He screws up in her sight.
It's the first time that he actually knows that she's back in town. And so I get why he succumbs to that moment's weakness. But the thing is, if she caught him lingering by the headstone, then okay. But he comes up on her, she turns around and sees him, and he runs away. We already know the two headstones are right next to each other. Like, it's like a jump. It's a logical leap.
Well,
like,
I don't know. I guess so. That could be the case. But he is standing next to it, like off to the side of it, a step maybe forward, looking at her.
Yeah, but the whole point was like he like walked around it to appear to her, and she knows he would be there investigating the murder of Buzz Bronski because it's right down the road from there.
Yeah, I don't know. There's just something. Maybe it could also just be that she just put it together at that point.
I guess so, but she would have had no reason to because he became Batman after she left.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. It didn't bother me so much because it felt like
it's just a movie that was so strong from start to finish. That's a pretty noticeable weak point.
I thought that what it did was it reflected the fact that he is not thinking clearly about being Batman when she's around, and they just were adding to the list of things that happens that reflect that. The first being when he's fighting those thugs that are trying to steal that guy's whatever. I don't know if he was like a gypsy, like
his cash box. I think he was just like selling stuff on like a street corner. Like
so, yeah. He tries to say, but when he catches her in his line of sight, he freezes, and then he gets, he gets taken advantage of. Yeah. And that seems. I feel like that scene was meant to be a mirror of that, like bringing you back to he's still hung up.
I guess so. Moment. It's one of those. It's not that it's a plot hole. It's just it's the clear weak link in a chain.
It's not that
it's
a plot hole. I just don't like it. I appreciate that, Al, bringing it back.
Yeah, no, it's not a plot hole. It's not. It's just it's the very obvious weak link in a pretty strong chain.
No, that's fair. That's fair. It's not. I feel like I understand what they were going for, of him being like a deer caught in the headlights, and
I get
and
that
her
part
figuring
of it.
that. It's not executed that well, though.
Yeah. That's really what it is. It's just the execution left something to be desired.
So there's one member that I've been holding off on mentioning because they did this on purpose, I'm sure. The Joker is brought into this movie. Like, I feel like it's the third act, probably, maybe a little. No, bit
it's
late.
Almost exactly 50% of the way through the movie.
Is it that early? Honestly, yes, the movie feels really long.
It's not. It's
an hour. It's 80 minutes.
Yeah. So here's the thing. We were watching the movie and we got through it about a third of the way, and Dominic goes, "When does the Joker show up?" I was like, I want to say almost dead center of the movie. And then when Sal Valestra goes to Future World or World of the Future, whatever, and he shows up, I click the thing, and we were 36 minutes in, and there was
All right.
39 minutes to go.
There you go. Okay, perfect. So
And I was
through.
like, wow, I almost nailed that right on the head. It's like 48.5% of the way through the movie.
But he shows up, then he's out of the picture for a little bit. He shows up again, he's out of the picture for just a little bit, and then he's fully involved with the rest of the movie. And
the whole third act is about him.
And which is great because it's funny because it takes a turn. It's like we want to make an incredible Batman movie, like fully cohesive Batman story. What are the elements that it requires? It requires a conflicted Batman Bruce Wayne. It requires a love interest,
a mystery,
and it
Joker.
requires the Joker. And they nailed the Batman formula in this movie.
You want to hear something that I find entertaining about this, especially since there's been so much talk about this other movie lately. So this movie is a tight 1:15, and Spider-Man 3 is 2.5 hours. The two movies have the same exact structure, where you're presented one villain at the beginning.
Yep.
Who lasts the whole movie, and you get another villain halfway through. And one of these movies is half the runtime of the other, and one of them nails it with entering with a secondary villain halfway through the movie, and it fits perfectly, and the other one doesn't. The one that doesn't is the one that's twice as long.
That's so funny. That's 100% accurate, too. Oh
like, God. How is that even possible?
I don't know. It's
because this is like if you took this movie and you just grafted it over Spider-Man 3. The biggest reason Spider-Man 3 doesn't work is because of that thing, right? Where you have that other villain show up halfway through the movie and just like along for the ride, and it becomes the big bad in the end, and it's just too much. And I guess you have Harry going on too, so it's 3 villains or whatever, but like even if you took Harry out of the equation, it still wouldn't work with Sandman and Venom the way it did. This one worked perfectly. It doesn't feel, and it's not like it's like, oh, well, it's a joke. Venom, everyone wanted Venom. That's the reason they put it in the movies. Everyone wants Venom in Spider-Man. Like, it's a well-known villain who's a big part of that hero story. It's the exact same format.
That's really funny. I'm glad you put that together. That's great. Man. Yeah, and that's well, to touch on more sour notes, the relationship between Batman and the Joker, it's all written for you. Like they've done it so many times. Each take can be great, but the general like relationship between the two characters is established. DC, what did you do? Like how did you screw this up in Suicide Squad?
Because they didn't have Batman in it.
Yeah, it's just. But they made the Joker shitty. It's just.
Well, first of all, Jared Leto is no Mark Hamill.
No, oh my God, what a voice actor!
I know.
Give the man an Oscar for his cackle alone.
Yeah,
because it is very unsettling.
Yes,
it's funny. As a kid, I loved the Joker. I thought it was funny. As an adult, I'm unsettled by him, and I love that. It's great.
I think he's the greatest villain. I get genuine chills when Heath Ledger murders that guy over the video. The guy who's pretending to be Batman.
The video that the scene that he directed.
Yes.
That's yeah. That guy definitely got some trauma. The actor.
Yep. Yeah, definitely.
Oh my God. But you guys can't see this, but I am flanked on my desk every day. I've got 2 speakers on either side of my monitor, 2 giant speakers. On the top of one of them, I have a pop figure of my favorite version of Batman, which is the Frank Miller Angry Batman, which is the fat bat on his chest, and he's pumping his fist, and he's got just this nasty grin on his face, and I have the Joker just holding out a Joker card, and it's just these are the 2 that I'm looking at every day, and I look at that Joker, and the first thing that I hear is the voice from the cartoon as well.
It's Mark funny. Hamill's you hear Joker. Kevin Conroy and you hear Mark Hamill.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And to get them both, I think that's also why those Arkham games were so good, is getting those voices for those games.
Yeah.
Ugh. But man, he is wildly inappropriate to the point where I was like, oh, they did that thing where like I'm watching a cartoon as an adult and I'm like, oh my God, that is Glad nobody asked me about that joke. Like,
yeah, like, I totally didn't get that joke when I was a kid.
That's
and like not just like inappropriate stuff, but like even his very intro to Sal Valestra, like when you first see the Joker on screen, he starts making like cracking jokes and like making all these like word associations and stuff like that. And I was like, oh my god, there's so many references I would have gotten a kid that like not like inappropriate, just like references to things. Like I told you a couple weeks ago I was going to start watching The Sopranos, and I finally did. I watched like the first half of the first season. And he says, "Me Casa Nostra as Sue Casa Nostra," and like that's not just a "Me Casa Sue Casa" thing. Casa Nostra thing is to like the actual reference to like the five families, like in the New York, New Jersey like thing. I was like, it's like, oh my god, like that's like it's such a like, thing there. Like I never would have gotten that.
I wish I had written some of them down, but there were a few other lines that he had said that I was just like, oh my god, like this is just his character is so well written.
Yeah,
and I just nobody
not just that like the consistency through it, like being true to the spirit of the Joker and all that, but you get a full Joker origin in this without having to do a whole movie of it. Yeah, it's like 8 minutes of screen time. And it's a fully contained and fleshed out version of a Joker origin story. Guys, we got a Joker origin, Joker romping around, and the Joker literally dying in an hour and 15-minute movie. Yeah. And he's only in 50% of the movie.
Well, did he die?
Well, let's just say it this way. The thing's blowing up. She's got him by the balls, we'll say, even though she's holding him by the collar. She tells Batman to run. She disappears.
Yeah.
And then she shows up again on a ship alive.
Yeah.
The Joker's dead.
Maybe.
I mean,
he's elusive.
Yeah, but like, how?
Exactly. Well, they didn't show it. There's no proof.
No, I get it, but like, considering it's a self-contained thing, and it wasn't Batman pulling him in, and we know that this is one of the versions of Batman where he doesn't kill.
For the sake of this story, the Joker is dead.
He's dead.
Yeah, it's great. And you know what's funny? I was thinking, there's certain episodes of the animated series that I have like vivid memories of, like clips from it. Like there are certain episodes in like amusement parks and things with like
for some reason like the clay guy. I always remember the clay guy.
Yeah, I remember a lot of Joker scenes, and it didn't dawn on me that it was in this movie. But the scene with the cutting, for whatever reason, the robot cutting the
I'll always remember that for some real reason, where he slides the bologna and she just starts cutting it.
Yeah, I don't know why, but I vividly I've always remembered that scene. When I got this pop figure of the Joker, that's what I remembered.
Yeah.
It's such a weird thing to attach to.
Well, two things. Three things. One, because two of them are tied together. It's the robot cutting the bologna for him, and then him using it as a weapon on her 2 minutes later.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I always remember when Sal goes to meet him, and he turns on the golden thing singing, and then blows them all away.
Yes. Well, hang on. Pause on that for a second. The fact that he uses the bologna to as a weapon, that could in any old cartoon, he would have just like you wouldn't even realize what it was. It would have just been him grabbing something and hitting the person with it to get out of it. But this they put this element in the scene, and then they foreshadow that it's relevant. And then
it looks like a comedic throwaway like gag that he's using her to slice up the bologna,
right? And
then he grabs it 90 seconds later and starts beating her over the head with it.
And that just like it's a dumb, silly little thing, but I think that just shows you the amount of thought that went into every little scene of this movie.
Yes,
of this animated
film.
It's amazing.
It's a really well written and directed and acted
incredible
movie, even though it's it's like a barely full feature length film.
Yeah.
For kids in animated form.
Amazing.
And like you said, like he's got so many like good lines. Like he's menacing. He's still, even though it's a cartoon, like he's like when like it's like, oh my god, he's about to kill this person. Like the way he's like when he's talking to Sal at the end of the conversation, when he's talking to Arthur Reese before he hits him with the gas and like drives him nuts. You know what I mean?
Oh
like,
my god, I love that they do that.
Yeah.
Dead and crazy thing. It's nuts.
Like it's a really good movie, and it has no reason to be.
And I think I'm glad that they held off on pulling him into the spotlight until halfway through. it turns out halfway through, because otherwise he steals the show.
Not just that, but there's like legitimate mystery to how it all. Like Dominic didn't realize that it was him. I was like, he's like, oh my god, like that's him. I was like, yeah, man, like you got to pay attention at any time in like comics animation, like faces and shapes matter. Like that henchman, there's a reason they never give him a name. There's a reason he's in every shot with the with the three crime bosses. And there's a reason that the Joker and him have the exact same nose. It's the only nose that looks like it in the whole movie.
I just love, though, that they make sure that they, even though they still spoon feed it to you by having Batman not fully realize it until he draws it on the picture. I just thought that was really funny, and I appreciated the fact that that's for kids.
Especially because, well, no, but you know what? It works, though, because the two of them haven't actually shared the screen yet. When he is the Joker at that point. We've seen the Joker and we've seen Batman. We haven't seen the two of them on screen together yet.
Yeah.
When he makes that thing, because he's never seen that picture before. And it's weird because it's almost like, it's one of those things where there's so many people and so many things that happen in our lives like that you forget because things aren't important. But when you consider the importance of the times that he ran into him, the time he ran into where he got engaged, and he meets him outside, and then that's the last time he sees her, and she disappears. He should always remember that night vividly and everything about it, seeing him outside. It's an association he should have made before.
Right.
And when he sees the picture, that's when it finally, because it jars back. It's the same thing, like, he didn't remember knowing Arthur Reeves from when he was a young, and not realizing his connection to these crime bosses. You know what I mean? Like, these are associations he should have made because of not... If nothing else had happened, if the curve of his life had been normal outside of that, where their relationship worked out and everything else happened the same, there are associations he never would have recalled. But because of how shocking and traumatic those times were, these are things that should have been ingrained into his memory, where he should have been able to make these associations. And when he finally does, and you get that snap where he gets it, it's like that is pretty good storytelling, even if it's built on slightly faulty premise.
Right. No, that's fair. That's fair. Oh man, the only thing that we're robbed of is enough Jim Gordon.
He's basically pushed off the side. Although we've gotten a lot of Jim Gordon stories, and not that any more isn't a good thing, but
I just like animated Commissioner Gordon. He's great. Yeah. So that scene in the hospital though, where the councilman is freaking out, laughing hysterically.
Yeah.
Very uncomfortable as an adult.
Yeah.
It's terrifying.
And I remember, as I'm watching it and realizing as everything went, although actually, because, I remembered a lot of it, but I still forgot some things. Because you watch like in the shadows and you'd seen him put the knife in the table. I actually thought he killed Arthur there. Because they show him the shadow, like he goes like, and he hits him.
Yeah.
And like I said, all the deaths happened off screen. And then he showed up again. And I think when I was younger, I thought that was another, like, some sort of, like, flashback thing or whatever, like that. It was, like, the Joker in the hospital bed. Because he's laughing like the Joker and, this and that. And it's like, oh, no. That's Arthur. He survived that encounter. Because that's the last time you see him again, too. You know what I mean? Like, and it all fits back. Like, the pieces, like, click together finally.
Oh, man. It's so good. I just want to watch it again.
Well, you have it. Even though Plex continues to fight me every time I use it.
Yeah.
Whether it be me watching a movie that requires subtitles for its entire run and I have no subtitles, or it be or it be a movie that I get the first 15 minutes of and then I can't watch any of it again. Or this movie where I watched the whole thing and couldn't watch the last 15 minutes and had to go find it on YouTube. Oh my God. Somehow it fights me every time I try and use it. It's something new every time.
That's kind of funny.
It was a little funny. It's funny because I was able to quickly find the rest of the movie.
That's great.
And it's just finding
out 15 minutes of Mask of the Phantasm.
The plus was that I at that point, it's all fight scene, and even if I don't remember every little like nitty gritty detail, like I remember it all. Although I would have been deprived of him walking through the model city.
So good with the Joker with the Empire State Building style building on his head,
where he comes into the camera, like the screen is like, oh god, he's hiding under a building, and then it's no, he's not hiding behind a building. He's got it over his head.
Yeah, he's in the building. He's inside the building.
There, and then he beats him over the head with the model.
It's so good. Like, who thought of that? Let's draw this fight sequence as giants in a city.
You know who thought about that? That's something. The whole thing hiding under the building thing. That's something straight out of a Bugs Bunny cartoon.
That's Warner Brothers.
And I don't know if you noticed, like as he's walking, there's like a big WB on one of the buildings.
Yep, I noticed that.
Yeah,
that's really funny. Oh man, this movie, what a gem. Do you have any other notes?
No, not really. Just other than like it's funny going back and seeing this again and being able to appreciate it for what it is. Like all like it. There's a real like connection to that story of love lost and all of that, and there's real genuine mystery and it fits within the mythos of the Batman that we know, even though there's different iterations of it, obviously, because there's another thing that Dominic commented on while we were watching is okay, so like the first like on-screen thing of like Batman Never Kills wasn't with the Nolan stuff. It's here, like right, like where this is the one where the Nolan inspired. There's several things that Nolan inspired from this scene. It seems like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. For sure.
So like the different iterations of this Batman kills, this Batman never kills, stuff like that. This one was in the same spirit of that, whereas it was his hard and fast rule. Like there's no killing. I'm not, I'm gonna make sure I preserve that piece of me no matter what.
Man, it's so good, and the darkness. Just this is the quintessential dark Batman.
Yeah, it is a surprisingly dark movie that should honestly turn you off as a kid, and yet it doesn't because there's so much else good going on. It doesn't
because it's Batman.
Yeah.
That's it. Wow. What a good time. I had such a great time with that movie. So much fun. Well, that's it for this week's episode of Flix and a Six. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back next week for more movie and beer goodness. Until then, I'm Anthony Costanzo.
And I'm Alessandro Biolsi.
Cheers.